Okay, I'm Miriam Smith, and I thank everyone for joining us today. And I like to have welcome to the show. And I like to have a show where it's like we're having a household conversation. So I have a lot of people I've invited to my home today to talk about this. And so it's not really formal, but we want you to relax and enjoy the information that we're going to share because we're going to be talking about kids that are legally kidnapped and they are kidnapped because there's an incentive to do that. I mean, these people that come and get your kids, they have a year to build a case. When they come and to your house, and if they end up picking up your kids, or they don't pick up your kids, they have a year to build a case against you. We'll have a parent that I'll be talking about that today. One of her children, they built her case for months and then came and got her kids. So we want to make sure that we inform parents and that the parents know their rights. We want to make sure that parents know what to do if CPS shows up at their door unannounced. Don't invite them in. Don't open the door. We want to make sure that parents are able and equipped with information to fight CPS and win. And we want to make sure that you're able to share that information with others so that they can fight CPS and win. We will have several people talking to you today, and we're going to start. We'll have, let me introduce my guests. I have a Fox Salone here today, and she's an activist and a grandmother, and she's out of Santa Cruz County and Santa Cruz City, right? The city is? Okay, the whole county. So she works out of that county, and she's here with us today. She'll be talking to you. We have a mother that's going to give her testimony, and this is Amber, and she'll be talking with you today. It's some horrible things that are happening with CPS, and what we want to do is we want to make sure that we inform parents and that we educate parents as to what to do. We're not lawyers. We have two lawyers that'll be talking to you today, and they will give you the legal advice. I'll just be giving you some popular education stuff and some information, and hopefully you will take it and run with it, and we'll give you out we have a crisis team that we're starting in this area, and we want to keep bringing that before you because we'll have a number for you to call when CPS show up at your door. We'll have if the cops show up at your door for health and welfare check. We have principals in schools sicking cops on people. We have family members getting mad and sicking cops and CPS on people. We have false allegations happening constantly. So we want to prepare you for this so that you can fight CPS and win against false allegations. So we also have Kathy Lesser here, and she's a grandparent that had to fight CPS. And we have Gertrude Smith, who is a political organizer, here with us. And we have Jessica Nyfield, who is an attorney, and she's going to be taking on cases and fighting CPS to win. So we're here. What this is today is an educational opportunity for people, and I really want people to understand that this is not anything to play with. CPS, when they come after your kids, they allow them to take your kids for nothing. And if you don't know your rights or what to do, your kids are gone. You lose your kids just because you don't know. Most of the time you lose your kids because you're poor and you don't have the money to fight back. And we want to set you up as a legal crisis team in the community. We want to set you up where if you don't have money to fight back, you have a very good case to fight them in an appeal and win the case. So we want to make sure that we also will build that up where we can help you with funds to fight and to get attorneys that will help you and fight your case, because we don't want to leave nobody behind. We want everybody to win. And if they're not going to change what they're doing to parents, we want to make sure that the parents have knowledge and they're able to make them back up off of them. I mean, it's like when you have AIDS, right? So you got AIDS, it was an epidemic, everybody was getting it, people were dying left and right, right? Well, the AIDS didn't change, right? They're still killing folks, right? But guess what? Knowledge helped those people And now, not as many people are getting AIDS. Not as many people are dying from AIDS because of knowledge. And that's what we're here to share today, is knowledge. To help people to stop their children from being taken and to stop their children from being harmed, because they're destroying families and tearing them up and they're harming them. So we want to stop that. And that's what we're here for today. I'm gonna have Jessica Nyfield introduce herself and talk to you a few minutes about some of the things that. Oh, let me just share this. Our rights. The parents' rights. There's a couple of things that people need to know. Like, if CPS comes to your house and they don't have a warrant, you don't have to open the door. If they have a warrant signed by a judge, you want to open the door. If CPS comes to your house and demand that they got to see the child, they got to get in, you can make an appointment with them. You don't have to feel the pressure. Don't let them pressure you. Don't let them force you or coerce you. If they coerce you into something or force you, I'm sure the attorneys will talk to you about that, because you will have a lawsuit. You will be able to fight them and win. So they need to have a warrant when they come. So you should feel comfortable with saying, okay, you come back, I'll make an appointment with you. And you don't have to meet them at your house. Don't never invite them in your house, I say. So you can meet them somewhere else, outside of your house. I remember years ago, I met a social worker at a Denny's. And she insisted on coming to my house. I said, you won't be coming to my house. So you don't never have to let them come to your house. And I didn't have to meet her at Denny's, but I was patronizing her. I wanted to hear what she had to say. I wanted to see how far she was going. So, and placating, patronizing, whatever you do, however you do it. But you do not have to let them in your house. Unless they have a warrant signed by a judge, then you have to let them get the kids. So here we go with Jessica Nyfield, and then I'll be coming back to you with some more information.
So I'm Jessica Nyfield. I live up in Santa Cruz County. I'm actually, my background is in education and corporate international law. But I got pulled into some dependency law, which is a totally different area of law, in the past year or so, helping out somebody that I was introduced to a while ago. And through that was so overwhelmed with shock at how this system works, especially in Monterey County, that I decided to start learning more about it. And right now I'm not specialized in dependency law. I would like to get that specialty, but so I can't like immediately go take on cases. But I would like to do that, and I know enough about some of how things work now to be able to offer some guidance in a non legal assistance way. Did you also want to introduce Robert Powell, who's joining us by Skype?
Yes,
today?
I have Robert Powell, who's been so patient, and he's going to be super awesome, I think, for a lot of people. And he's an attorney out of San Jose.
Do you want
and
me
so
to?
I'm going to have Gertrude read that in.
Oh, okay.
That's Jessica, you're going to read about it and just talk. And she's going to share with you who we have on Skype waiting to talk to you all.
So just
Okay, that's fine. Joining the discussion via Skype today is civil rights attorney Robert Powell of Powell and Associates in San Jose, California. Mr. Powell is one of a small cadre of California attorneys specializing in lawsuits against Child Protective Services and law enforcement for the unlawful removal and continued detention of children, as well as various other nefarious actions of CPS social workers and agencies. The word nefarious gets me, sorry.
That was his.
Powell and Associates is responsible for some significant changes or clarifications of dependency law in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, an appellate jurisdiction that covers 9 states.
And also, I'll have Michelle Chan, who will be calling in, and she's an activist. She's a writer. She's a mother who got her kids back, fought against CPS, and got her kids back. She founded a group called Parents Against CPS Corruption, and so she got her kids back, and she exposed a judge in San Francisco and the DA, and pretty much ran the CASA. Was it CASA, either the CASA or the guardian ad litem out of the city because she threatened to expose her. So it's going to be pretty exciting to hear her testimony and hear her talk about, and she'll be calling in a few minutes here. We also will have Catherine, who is a grandmother, as I was saying earlier. So I'm going to have, Jessica, did you want to share with us some of the things that you know that would help parents with?
Well, I probably would leave it to Robert for the most important stuff, but just reiterating what you said, that taking it very serious. CPS is not something to be trifled with, and not allowing yourself to be bullied into things. So they have to have a specific reason to come and to investigate. So you can ask them or send them a letter and say, what is your specific reason for having interest in my child or children. You can, if you do meet with a social worker, you should have somebody there as a witness. You can record the conversation, especially if it's in your house. They still have no expectation of privacy in your own home, unless they're in the bathroom. But so you want to record and keep records of every interaction that you have with anybody from CPS. If you need help with that, hopefully the crisis team will be able to start providing free assistance to people to keep track of what's happening, because if you get an appointed attorney provided by the county, that person is not going to have that much time for you. And you time is of the essence. If they get involved with your child, the clock starts running, and especially if your child is under 3 years old, you have 6 months to make your case or get your child back. And if they take your child out of your house, immediately your child is losing that bond with you. And if it's a very, very young child, the court can start saying, oh, well, they have a better relationship with these foster parents. And also, another thing that struck me in Monterey County, and I assume that this is also happening in other counties, and I would love to ask Robert about this, is we have a foster to adopt system in this county. And if you look at their website for the Monterey County Department of Social Services, it kind of presents it as, this is a cheap way to be able to adopt a child if you get involved in foster parenting. So it is emotionally taxing if you want to adopt a child that way, but the foster parents are going into it with this expectation that they're going to get a child that they can love and keep for the rest of their lives. Now, that's a conflict of interest for me. If they have control of that child and they're trying to get that child to love them so that they can keep the child forever, they're not going to be doing things to help the child reunify with the parents. And the system may not be encouraging the parent to be in contact with the child as frequently as is psychologically recommended. And I believe in Santa Clara County, there's been some more work in what the recommended amount of time you should meet with your child is. So it's it's kind of a mess, and it's such a serious situation. I mean, this is your child, and you can lose your child forever, and that to me is just horrible, which is why I've kind of gotten drawn into this. So
the horrible things that CPS do and don't care, like destroying homes and destroying families, and they don't care. They don't care that there is a loving grandmother. They don't care that there's a loving friend or neighbor that's been knowing the child all their life. They don't care. They take that child and place that child where they want, and they say it's for the best interest of the child. That's a real joke, and families need to understand that it is not for the best interest of the child. And they also tell you, they throw gag orders on you, so a lot of times if they have a gag order and you can't talk, but they also tell you, that it's the privacy that they keep is for the best interest of the child. No, it's to hide their ugliness. It's to hide their corruption. It's to hide the nasty stuff that they're doing behind the scenes to keep your child. Because if the public were to be able to go into the courthouse and see how they're operating, they would have been shut it down. They would have been. So we have a call coming in, and this is Michelle coming in. She'll be talking to us in a few minutes. So Michelle, we're going to have you on hold a minute, and I'll chime you in a few minutes, okay? So she'll be talking to us in a few minutes. But it's nasty.
I can't hear you very well. Just I don't. So when you're speaking, if you can try to lift the thing up so I can hear you clearly.
Can you all hear her? Okay. Okay. Just when it's time to talk, we can hear you. Okay. So. Anyways, the nasty business of Child Protective Service is they will set up a case against you, and they will hide it in the court and say it's for the best interest of the child. But the only person benefiting from this, from them hiding the work and hiding the stuff that they're doing and bringing up charges on the family and without any kind of proof or just allegations, just false allegations, and they're bringing these charges up. The only person that's being protected is them and their ugliness, and the child is not being protected. But yet the child is kept from loving parents for days and weeks and months. The child is kept from family members. The child is kept from everything that child knows, and then they end up putting these children on psychotropic drugs because of the simple fact that these children long to be back at home with their families. And so one thing I want to share also is that there's money from the federal government to help reunite families, to help work with families. So children shouldn't be taken out of a home unless there is emergencies, like you see that child's about to die. It's about to be bodily harm that's really, really severe. And we have 80% of the children that are taken out of homes should have never been taken out of homes. So we really want to continue this conversation and make sure that people know. And people know.
Before we get started there, may I please make a couple of comments in regards to the audio recording from firsthand experience, in which she had mentioned before. Many of the times when you request for audio recording, they will refuse, and there's also a sign in the department, if you meet at the department, that you are not able to audio record. If you request that and they deny it, it will then be reported that you are refusing and non-compliant to the investigation.
Well, it's actually not legal in California.
We don't want to get off track. Robert, did you hear that? One of the mothers that is here to testify today said a lot of times, so I want you to answer that when you come on to talk, but a lot of times that you're not allowed to record.
Yeah, and when they came to my house, they were said unless they're notified that we're recording, it would be against the law. So I posted it on the outside of my house that audio and or video recording would be in process. Mm-hmm. Then they refused to come into my house and interviewed, and then reported that the continued request to video record and or audio is in line with behavior of those who are on drugs and methamphetamines.
So let me do this.
Paranoia.
Let me have Michelle come on and talk.
Okay.
And then I think that's a question I'll have you ask Robert. Okay, so then take away any more time from other people. Okay, but that's a good question, sweetheart. It's really a good question, and I would like to hear what Robert has to say about that. Michelle, I think we can hear you. Can we hear Michelle? Can you say something, Michelle? Michelle? I think so.
Hello, Miriam.
Yeah, can you say, okay. So can we hear
Yes,
Michelle?
hello, Miriam.
Okay, go ahead and give us your testimony. Tell us what you want us to know, Michelle.
Okay, hi, my name is Michelle Chan. I'm standing with Parents Against CPS Corruption. And let me start my story in around September of 2016, and that's when it really came clearly to my attention that our child protection system is corrupt, and that the courts, the juvenile courts, are in collusion. The judges, the court-appointed attorneys, and the judges are actually working on the side of CPS. And, it came to my attention in my own case first. And what happened was that, a social worker removed my child from my custody. It was tantamount to kidnapping. It was a premeditated effort, and the entire report against me was fabricated. And I was able to prove this because she is not the brightest and communicates only through email. And the emails did not match at all what she had put down on paper and what happened. So I gathered all the evidence I had, and I thought that, at this point I thought that the justice, that this is America, this is a free country, let me go to the people of Rockford, something will be done. I got all the misconduct and all the criminal misconduct on court records, and I went to the judge for help. And rather than doing what should have been done, which is dismiss the charges against me and return my child, my court-appointed attorney and the judge then worked together to commit guardian ad litem fraud against me. Now, a guardian ad litem is they're normally appointed to children, the incompetent or the insane, and it's intended to give a voice to those that otherwise would not have any. But instead, in my case, it was used to silence dissent. And I was effectively, from that moment forward, October 4th, 2016, I was deemed incompetent and insane on paper, and I lost my right to speak for myself legally. And, at that point, once I had been put on guardianship, everyone in my case basically came out of the closet and just started laughing in my face. They all, at this point, were openly showing me that they were corrupt and in collusion with me, including the judge. And no one was even trying to hide it from me. And they thought that no one would ever listen to me because I had a CPS case, because I was deemed incompetent and insane on paper. So, and they were right. It came to a point where I realized nobody was going to listen to me. And nobody really cared to listen to one person's story of what was going on in these cases that are confidential and that the media does not publicize. So what I did was I formed an activist group. I built a website. I circulated 40,000 flyers in 1 month in San Francisco, which is a very small city. And I was able to start, I was invited, I started publishing articles in a local underground newspaper, the San Francisco Bay View, but it had a circulation of 20,000, and it had an online edition. I ended up circulating I ended up publishing 12 articles. And, people really did start listening to me when I was able to bring people together. And when it wasn't just me, suddenly people were listening to me. And in September of 2017, about a year after it happened, Judge Nancy L. Davis, the judge that committed guardian ad litem fraud against me, was forced into retirement. 3 months after that, my case was dismissed and my son was returned to me. Now, the moral of the story is that, what I did, forming an activist group, is something that anyone can do. But it's not easy. There's a lot of people go out and they think that they can just go and stand up and fight the system alone, or fight the system of complaints, or fight the system by filing motions. But the truth is, no one is going to listen to me or you or that person. But when we come together, then they have to listen. Our group is now formed. We've grown. There's almost 100 of us now, locally, and there's a lot of. I'm really fortunate. There's dozens and dozens of us that are actively involved every day, contributing money and time and efforts. And we expanded into Contra Costa County. We expanded. We have efforts now. A sister group in Santa Clara County, in Monterey County, and in Stanislaus County. But our efforts in Contra Costa County, which are really exciting. It's really exciting to see people come together. We followed a similar formula. We circulated 50,000 flyers. We're really out there every day. Our group has grown, and we are now we're currently demanding the removal of 3 judges that we know to be corrupt: Judge Rebecca Hardy, Judge Lois Caton, Judge Jill Shannon. And next week we are holding the March for Family Rights on May 8th. And I really just think that there's so much excitement surrounding this day, and I really hope that if anyone in Northern California and believes in this cause or has been harmed by this system or by the family court system, I urge you guys to stop what you're doing and come out. I believe it can be a historic day. You can contact me directly for information at 415-815-9415. That's 415-815-9415. Or they can visit our website at parentsagainstcpscorruption.com. And, that's the story. At the end of the day, the system is corrupt. And we're not going to win these cases. A lot of these cases aren't going to be won in the courtroom. It just can't. It's impossible when the courts and the court appointed attorneys, the social workers and the supervisor, when it's rigged and everyone's in it. It's really, and on top of it, the cases are confidential and no one's looking over and there's no oversight and accountability. In order to bring justice and accountability to the system, change has to happen from the top down. And that's why we need to come together. We need to speak out. I believe that change is going to happen. I think it's going to happen right here in Northern and Central California. And I think that the movement is strongest here than anywhere else in the country. So I really just urge everyone to really start thinking about different strategies and different tactics, because we're losing our own cases because we don't have that power. And I think that we can take back that power.
Thank you, Michelle. Michelle was saying that I don't know if everyone heard that, but I want to make sure I reiterate that she is having a march in Walnut Creek, Contra Costa County on the 8th. So those that are interested in coming out, it takes numbers, working together in numbers, and it takes groups. And she formed the activist group, and that's when she started getting things done. And so forming it or joining one, we're now here to serve notice to Monterey County that our group is Stop CPS Monterey County, and our website will be going up live next week, and it is stopcpsmontereycounty.org.
No, stopcps.com.
Okay.
And then and we're going to be making categories for each county. And so once you go to stopcps.com, you'll be able to click on Monterey County, Santa Cruz County, as we get each one of those counties up and going.
Mm-hmm. So, and we'll be all working together, because I'm going to be trying to get up there to Walnut Creek, and we're all going to, parents, just join together until we get a bigger group. And we'll be bringing attorneys in that we could be able to get information for the parents that are being troubled by CPS, harassed by CPS, harmed by CPS, their homes are being destroyed by CPS. We want to get information together for them, to help them. Now, not every, like I said, 80% of the kids taken by CPS should have never been removed from the home. So there's opportunity for CPS to come in and do the right thing. What we're going to be is people that is going to step up and help them be more accountable in our community, in our neighborhood.
Actually, Miriam,
and
you are correct. It is a .org. There's just not the county on it. It's stopcps.org.
Okay, stopcps.org is our website. So, and we've been working on that for a while, so we just kind of finished it yesterday, right? Yeah. So anyway,
Got all the funding to put that together.
we're going to have
Can we turn it, I'm concerned that Robert Powell will run out of time, because.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
So, yeah, because she has a question, though, that's our next person. So, because Regina Mason is a former CPS worker, and she could not make it. She's the co-founder of the Village Project and NAACP president, and she's working on, she has told me that she's working on doing resolutions with the NAACP in all 58 counties here in California. So we'll have people that will be continuing to do stuff to help bring this movement together. And if we make enough noise, I think we can make things happen. So are we ready to put that up so that people will know that Robert Powell is getting ready to talk to us? And I'm going to have him talk, and then we have some testimonies of people that have actually dealt directly with CPS, and we want to share those testimonies. You ready for us, Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'm sorry about the earphones, but I'm having trouble hearing you guys really well.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Do you think we can hear him out there on the sound? Anybody has? So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well,
You're on top. There was a question.
You can ask him some.
Okay, so there was you could share a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to us, and then one of the young ladies here had a question, and I wanted you to answer that question, and then I do have a couple of questions for you.
What I had learned actually from Sarah was that a parent or guardian has the right to record a social worker or somebody who comes to the house to to interview you, and that you don't have to tell them that you're recording, and you don't have to ask permission if they're in your home. Amber was saying
I
that
recorded them and I didn't
that
care
was
if
not-
they said I could or not. They didn't come back.
Please, I'm ready to answer. It's a very, first of all, let me say, whenever anybody speaks of absolutes in child protective services, juvenile dependency law, they've almost 100% of the time, they have misspoken.
Okay.
So no, there is no blanket rule that you can record any social worker who comes to your house, okay? It's called a reasonable expectation of privacy assessment. And the logic that we use is, if a social worker comes to your house and they're doing an investigation, that is for the purpose of writing down and making a report of whatever they're there talking to you about. So they clearly don't have an expectation of privacy because they have an obligation to make a report about whatever they're talking about. So there is no just carte blanche rule one way or the other. They can refuse to allow you to record. And like Fox was saying, hello Fox, they will characterize it as you failed to cooperate, you refused to talk to us. I don't know how many times I personally have told the social worker, sure, you can talk to my client, but I have to be there. And then find that reported in a report as, oh, the parent. So one of the most important things that I will tell anybody who is involved with CPS is you have to document things that you wouldn't even imagine that you had to document before. And whenever you speak to a social worker, you need to follow that up with an email and say, this will confirm what we discussed today. This will confirm that you said this and I said that, killed, right? And if I have any of this wrong, respond and tell me what you disagree with. That's just one of the many things that one needs to do when they're in the crosshairs of CPS. And Jennifer, can I say something to you real quick? I heard how you met Sarah. I heard you talk now.
It's Jessica, but my sister is Jennifer, and Jennifer is the #1 name to call me.
So Jessica.
Other than Jessica.
Jessica.
I actually responded Jennifer, but I thought there was another Jennifer here today.
Yeah, this is Jessica, but Jennifer didn't show.
Okay, go ahead.
What I wanted to say about that is, if you, when she was talking about how, you know, here she was a lawyer, she was in a law, she probably was doing, as I understand it, kind of call out of the blue a little bit, ends up kind of feeling bad, gets sucked in, gets in there, and looks around, and I can cuss on this, right? Goes, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Because
those were my words.
it does not resemble what you had come to know. Oh, evident, subjections that get sustained, hearsay doesn't fly, people can't just come in and make up, there's some parental level, expected maybe at least from the judge, even though we're often disappointed on that in other courts as well. And I've seen your face, and I've met people like you who came into this after already working in law, and they're shocked. I think they're more shocked than anybody because they had some parameters they thought they were working in, and now they are literally in the twilight zone. So I know what you feel.
Thank you.
Know what we all feel when they showed up to my house.
Yeah.
5, 6,
Look,
to
I
7.
don't know how much time I have, so I'm going to rant for just a little bit.
Go ahead.
To anybody who watches this,
So,
video, hear me when I say this. You may think that you're safe and comfortable because you're a perfect parent and your kids are fine and your husband's great, your wife's great, everything's great. I have several cases of people who felt just like you do today until this organization marched into their lives and turned their lives upside down. This organization, we have to have something like it that
those 20% of kids that do probably need to be protected. We got to have somebody. But this organization is literally, if it were embodied in a person, is insane.
Yep.
It is insane. It is unjust. It is on a power trip that is godlike in its dimensions. So, that's my rant. If there's something anybody else wants me to specifically speak to, I will. But I'm just as outraged today as I am the first time I took a CPS case and came out of that courtroom asking myself, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Where was I?
Yeah, you really
So so when you say you took a CPS case and you walked out, what the hell just happened? So you know they just twisted up everything, lied, suppressed evidence, they did all that, and you're the one that won the case on the CPS worker not having the right to lie, right?
The federal case.
The federal
Yeah,
case?
we made it clearly established that they cannot lie.
That they cannot lie. So they had a certain amount of immunity, and they wanted absolute immunity.
That's a
And
different case. That's way back in 2006, in which they pretty much had absolute immunity.
until then,
Pretty much.
until you got that
Yeah.
case in Supreme Court. Okay, so
Well,
many lies were tore up back then.
I understand. The problem was the law wasn't clear. And in 2006, the Beltran decision made it clear. It said that social workers have only qualified immunity, just like police officers. They don't have absolute immunity because various decisions in courts were saying, oh, absolute immunity doesn't matter. And so Beltran kind of said, nope, absolute immunity doesn't exist for social work.
I have it wrote down.
Beltran versus who?
She wants you to cite the case. It is up on his, if anybody wants to go back and look at the show, I had his bio put up and his case is on there.
Beltran's
It's
on.
versus
so it's
County
on
of
there.
Santa Clara.
So that we don't have to
Thank you.
rehash anything. But there's some questions that we have on here that I wanted to ask you. Robert, I'm gonna let Jessica ask you those questions. Do the honors.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Trying to think of what I could call you that would be wrong. Rob?
Tell me, Bobby.
Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Well, I was hoping to get your input on, you've won some pretty big cases, like the one down in Orange County was for a few $1 million, and how they responded to that was to give the social worker a promotion. They just doubled down on this.
So let me clarify this. I don't know if it'll change your question, but the original case in Fogarty Hardwick was won by my colleague Sean McMillan back in 2000. Well, he actually won it in like 2004, but by the time they'd appealed it, it ended up wrapping up in 2007. And yes, he had almost a $5 million verdict, and then with the appeals and the interest and the continuing awards of attorney's fees, I believe the final check in that case was $9.8 million, because these social service agencies, if you ever expect them to say, you know what, gosh darn it, I'm sorry, we screwed up, I am so sorry, don't. They will appeal it to the Supreme Court. So that was his case. The kids were not part of that case. Later, when the kids became 18, he represented them, and one of them went a little off the reservation, so he had to drop him. I picked up the remaining child, and that's where we have that decision in Hardwick versus County of Orange that says that it was clearly established that social workers cannot lie and present false evidence in a juvenile case. I have not won a dime. I have, in fact, I am on appeal in that case because the jury ruled against us. Now, I will say, Sean got to put on his case for a month. I got 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So,
a little more difficult.
well, but in light of the original one, and the fact that they had to pay out a significant amount of money, and yet there was no change. I know you feel that in all of your almost 26 years of practicing, that nothing has really changed that much. Where do you see how things can change? Do you think it's in these community groups, or more lawsuits, or what sort of pressure do you think would,
Well, I can say that community groups don't seem to have affected much change either. There does seem to be another increase, another uptick in community roots efforts or grassroots efforts to make some changes, but I don't think they can make the changes. Some of the major things that should be changed is the mandatory reporter law. That should be changed because these poor teachers and doctors, they are all told that if you don't report, then your ass can be in a sling, right? You can be in big trouble. But if you report, then you're protected by immunity, okay? First of all, that's wrong now because my friend Sean got a case called RC, ARCE, versus I can't remember what county, and it said that in federal court, those state law immunities don't protect you. But in any event, it needs to be thrown out so that people can use some common sense, which they don't have the luxury to use right now. Then, of course, you should make it so that it is absolutely required that every interaction with parents and children is recorded. Police officers are doing it now. Of course, we're finding out that they turn off their recorders, but at least there's many occasions where that, we get the truth, because the truth is an absolute scarcity in the juvenile dependency system. Almost useless.
How do we do that through legislation?
I want to invite Zay over here. If you want to grab a chair and come over here because he wants to ask a question.
Well, I wanted to ask
And,
Mr. Powell, since he's on.
So let me have you guys we're going to go back to the questions toward the end. Is that okay, Robert, Bob?
Yes.
Because
an easy
No
answer?
problem.
That
because
would
we
be
got
nice.
too
He's
in,
already on
we got
topic.
too into this. Write it down, please. Let me just have these you three give your short talk because we're going to go back to the question. Write your question down, then because I'm going to have him up here, Zay, and he's got a question he wanted to ask. So I'm going to have Catherine, if you want to talk, no questions, but if you want to talk and give your little testimony,
And then I
please.
can ask the question after.
We're going to ask him afterwards because then it gets into too long.
Okay. My name's Catherine Lester, and I'm sorry, it's pretty hard on me because this is really the first time I've had an open platform to share my story. In 2011, I worked for Social Security Administration for 12 years. Federal employee, public servant, no criminal record, not even a speeding ticket. Sadly, I have an adult child who's a heroin addict. And I had to do tough love and kick her out of my home because she didn't want to get help. So time went on, and I was at work, and I got a call from my daughter. And because I always worried about her, I would always make sure I answered her call. She's my only child. So I get the call, "Hi, Mom." I said, "Hi, Alyssa." She said, "How are you doing?" I said, "Okay, how are you?" She said, "I'm good, Mom. I'm pregnant." My heart sunk to my gut because I knew how bad her addiction was. I also raised her in the church. So I knew she would not have an abortion. So I asked her, "Well, what are you going to do?" And she says, "I'm going to have it, Mom." She was 26 or 23 at the time, and she was still covered under my federal insurance. So I said, "Alyssa, please promise Mom that you'll go to an OBGYN and you'll get into an inpatient treatment center, because if not, you're going to harm that child." She says, "Oh, I am, Mom, I am." So I gave her the insurance information. She started going to get checkups, and 2 weeks had gone by, and she was not in a facility for drug treatment yet. And as a mother and a grandmother, of course, I'm concerned for my unborn grandson and, of course, my daughter. So the only thing I think to do is I've got to call the doctor she's going to and inform him. I didn't know what to do. So that's what I did. I called and said, you know, you're seeing my daughter as a patient, and I think that it should be made aware that she's a heroin addict and she has not gotten in treatment, and I'm really concerned about her and my unborn grandson. And they said they would speak to her. So she comes in for her next appointment, and the doctor raises the issue, and she never went back. So she got worse in the addiction and started hiding from me. I called CPS. I knew nothing about what I know now in regards to CPS. In my mind, that's who helps abused children or families in need. And so I called the hotline, and I said, I need to make a report. And the lady said, well, what is it, ma'am? I said, I need you to arrest my adult daughter. She's a heroin addict, and she's pregnant, and she won't get treatment. And she said, there's nothing we can do, ma'am. I said, why? It's child endangerment. She said, well, the child's not born. Hung up. That was it. So desperate, I call my local police department, and I tell them of my despair, and I need help. Could they arrest her for child endangerment? I was again told no. There's no laws to protect the unborn. So in my mind, I do what I think I can do to try to help. And I start going down into our local drug and homeless community here in Monterey County called Chinatown, which is where my daughter lived in tents and abandoned cars. And I would carry her picture. And I would go in there and I'd say, please don't sell this girl drugs, she's pregnant. And this was over the whole 9-month period. And I gained a lot of support from the homeless people, and it turned into a ministry. But anyways, then my grandson is born, and he's born addicted. And I went in the day he was born, and they were having to give him morphine to detox from the heroin, methamphetamines, any drug. She had multiple drugs in her system, which were in his system. And I would hold him. I was still working full-time, but I was a seasoned employee, so I had seniority, and I had a flex shift. I could go in an hour early. That way I would get an hour, 2-hour lunch, and I was constantly with my grandson. Any empty free time between work, home, I was with my grandson in the intensive care unit, nurturing him, doing his physical therapy, watching him have tremors. And I bonded with that baby to my core. So the social worker at the hospital is not involved with CPS, but is a social worker for the hospital, independent of CPS. But they, of course, are mandated reporters. I met with her, and I told her, I don't approve of their lifestyle. I'm willing to step up and raise my grandson. I've done this, this, and that. Back up a little bit in my story, I was fortunate enough to get an investigative reporter from KION 46, Brooke Holmquist, to do an investigative report because I told her of the struggles I had with trying to get her arrested and protecting my unborn grandson, and she decided to take it on as an investigative report. And she went to the NIC unit and talked to the doctor that found the NIC unit for drug babies and explored things that they thought might help in our situation. One is the Marchman Act, where it would allow a parent, it's a law in Florida, a parent or concerned relative, you could get your loved one committed if it was a mental health issue or a drug issue, but that's legislation and it takes a long time. we ended up going up to the Capitol, and we spoke to Assemblyman Monning, his administrative assistant, because he wasn't available. And I took out all the research I'd done on the Marchman Act, the story of my grandson.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you tell us what happened when, at the hospital with your grandson and with you not being able to get your grandson?
Yes,
Can you
so,
tell us that?
my daughter and the father were caught using drugs in the hospital room. And so that social worker made a report to CPS. The next thing I knew, they came to the hospital, and it was what was called a team decision-making meeting. In that meeting, what they do is they start out, we're at a round table like this, and we're at the hospital in the NIC unit, but in their conference room right outside of it, my daughter, me, at least 4 social workers and someone else from their organization, and a doctor and a nurse. 1 doctor, 1 nurse that would work directly with the CPS workers as far as information gathering. They sit down and they start going through their paperwork. By this time, my daughter is in an inpatient rehab. She had been there approximately 3 weeks. No services, no therapy, only thing they did was a psych eval on her. So then they start their meeting. There's no attorney to represent me or my daughter. And they're actually interrogating my daughter and going through case files without any attorney present. And they're making all these accusations about my daughter. Unfortunately, in part of it, I caught a lie. They were not being truthful. And I said, I'm sorry, but you need to stop right here because that's a lie. The lady, the crisis social worker, Patricia Mannion, looked at me and she said, if you don't shut up, I'm going to make you leave the room. I was taken back. I'm a federal public servant. We don't talk to people like that. And so I started to be quiet, and I let them continue. And then there was more lies. But I just kept quiet because I wanted to be able to speak to the doctor and the nurse, because it would be the only time I could ask them information about my grandson, because my daughter was in the room.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, honey, but we're gonna have to go to the next person to give
So
their testimony. We
anyways,
won't
he
have no
got taken
time.
and he's adopted.
We won't have no time. Amber, you
Well,
have
I think it's
something?
very important that we get from the beginning to the middle to the end of each
So
different
if you can
situation.
tell your story in about 2 minutes or less, and we can work on getting it down, because the story is everything she's saying is really important. It's just the time that we have to use. You know, so if you can tell your story, you know, just like kind of,
Like, highlight,
yeah, highlights, that's all. And you've told me you've highlighted some things and you got some things that,
my experience with CPS, you come into this feeling like it's fine, that like she mentioned before, that they're here to help, that they're just worried. And so that's the approach I took. I was told multiple times, you know, don't let them in the door, don't let them in there. And I'm like, what do I have to hide? I don't care. You know, I don't care. Let them do their thing, write their reports, and go off. You know. The first 2 times they came, I signed over all the paperwork in regards to letting them talk to the schools, my children's medical P-test. I had just taken some blood tests at my doctor. I released all my information with that, so they got an up-to-date blood test for me. And after everything was clear, this was like in December 2016? Yeah, December 2016, November, December, when the reports were made and allegations of domestic violence. I did get reports. They do what's called a welfare check. And so the officers just came, the social workers came, the officers, you know, he's the one who kind of off the record, on the record, warned me about what I should do when CPS comes to the house. And they didn't, at any point, I was not really aware that they were concerned with me. I let them know that I had, you know, the sheriff's reports and stuff that had the findings of all the false allegations. I think there was a total of 8 or 9 accusations completely throughout I think is what they had reported on in the court. And so basically I brought all of my stuff. I tried to collect them as much as possible, but they try to work really fast, and they didn't let me know that they were even concerned with me anymore, or that they were concerned with my husband. We ended up losing our house. There was some uninhabitable conditions there. I turned in my landlord, called the county, gas, electrical problems, some leaking, things like that. The county shut the unit down. They had an anonymous report stating that I could not maintain stable housing for my children due to a drug addiction. And basically it was economic and physical discrimination. I had recently been attacked, lost a couple of my teeth. They went with that instead. I informed them that I did have the documentations, the city citations, and the court documents in regards to losing my house. This is afterwards, 5 months later, when I started being bombarded on every 3 or 4 days, either a sheriff was showing up or the CPS was showing up. And I told them at one point, my daughter had told me, she was like, "Mom, are they going to take us?" And she seemed upset. And I said, "You know what? The last time when they came in there, I said, you know what? I go, this is the last time I'm letting you in my house. I go, you're starting to upset my children. I go, and we're not doing this anymore." And that was on a Wednesday, and by Friday I got a phone call saying that I'd be having court on Tuesday. I was never served anything. I didn't even know that they could take my children or would take my children. Like I said, I had several police reports on every accusation that was put towards me, that my children were fine, that they were taken to the hospital. I had hospital reports, sheriff's reports that were contrary to what they had given to the courts in regards to the emergency detainment. They were unable to obtain a warrant. They claimed that they couldn't know what was happening or how my children would be in danger because of my lack of cooperation, even though every single time they arrived to my house, they spoke to me, my children, and I allowed them to take pictures and strip my children's legs, arms, and everything to make sure that there was no bruises, no abuse. And one of the major things is several months after I had gotten sick, I was sick for several months, and they were trying to prove that I was incompetent, that I was crazy, that I was schizophrenic, that I was a druggie. Many accusations. What ends up happening is that in child welfare, you're guilty until proven innocent for the betterment of the child, because if you don't take them now, something might happen, and they're using, the fact that other children have gotten hurt to detain the children who don't need to be detained. The fact is that the department had information on every single accusation, even cross-referencing collateral contact with the police department. Even when I was taken out of the hospital, they had called the hospital and asked them if there was any child welfare concerns, and they were told by social workers and hospital that there was no child welfare concerns. When I asked for reports of that to bring to the court hearing, they never gave it to me. They took that out of the stack of paperwork because they're required to give me the reports. They did not give that to me until a week after we had already gone to court, and that was 6 months after they had taken my children. And everybody who had their children taken a couple weeks after me had already had their children returned to them. At this point, I had still only been able to see my child 1 hour, both of my children, 1 hour a week. After being a stay-at-home mom for 6
So you
years.
haven't got your children returned?
No, last week
What has happened? What it was? Kind of tell us what's going on a little bit right now.
Basically, I turned in all the counter evidence to my attorney. I tried to. My original attorney, she refused to work with me. She was working for CPS, nothing more than a file clerk. I had tried to put a conflict of interest. I threatened her and told her that I was going to turn her into the bar, and that I had written down all the times, the dates, and the information in which I was trying to contact her, because she was reporting that she could not stay in contact with me. She then put in a conflict of interest, and I didn't have to fight for a new attorney. I then was appointed another attorney out of Monterey. I sent her all the counter evidence against each accusation. I believe CPS was able to look at that. They went from, I think, 12 to 14 accusations down to 2. And then under the preponderance of the evidence that my children could possibly be harmed in the future, they were going to take jurisdiction of my children after 6 months of holding them against against my will and against my children's will. My daughter kept demanding that she speak to her attorney because on the paperwork it said that she had been notified that she has a right to an attorney. My daughter didn't meet her attorney until the day before the disposition hearing. And that was 6 months after that she was detained from the department. And my children were not transferred to my mother until after CPS had put them in a foster home in which the mother lost my 4-year-old. And he was found on the side of a highway at a Taco Bell and missing for 3 hours in the daytime. My son, I asked him what happened. He said he got bored, nobody was watching, and he wanted to go to the library. So he went to the library, went to the grocery store, and then crossed Fifth Avenue.
How old is your son?
He's 4 years old. And when we got to court, the social workers stated that my son was out of control, and that's why they had transferred him, not because that they had lost him and they were trying to cover anything up, and that he had undone a safety lock out of the window and climbed out the window. My 4-year-old has no reason to lie to me or to say anything. So when they say something, when the children say something, they take it out of context and make it really big. And then when it goes towards whatever they're trying to prove, when children say something against CPS, they don't mention it at all, or they make up something
I'm
else.
sorry, but I'm gonna have to cut you off there. I wanna get back to Robert Powell with the question and answer, and we kind of started late, but we're still, I think we're running over time even after we started late. Sorry about that. Can you say what you have to say, Fox? You've been practicing it
really fast.
for a long
My
time?
story is same thing, only different. With all these circumstances, and I'm still meeting with families who are dealing with the same cast of characters in what we call the KKK, Kangaroo Kid Court out in Watsonville. And it just infuriates me that what was done to me like 5 years ago and my grandchildren is being still done today. But we're working closer to stopping it.
Yeah.
And my tact, I met Wilmina about a year ago, and we're kind of working from different angles. I've given up on civil law, totally, completely done. I'm going criminal. I've contacted Department of Homeland Security. They've opened a case, a number 272330, and I've asked them to please investigate CPS and anybody associated with CPS for child trafficking, domestic terrorism, human, civil, and constitutional rights violations. I want felony convictions. I want these people to lose their jobs, their titles, their pensions, and their freedom.
That's right.
And I think it's fair for what they've done to our family. I call myself a system abuse survivor. I, like Catherine, we have system-induced traumatic stress disorder. And I'm working with 2 psychologists at UCSC to please open a study and validate this condition. Because it's like what my 2 oldest grandkids, I can see them once in a while. And the youngest one was sold to inappropriate strangers. And it caused my daughter to commit suicide. My daughter is not the only parent who has committed suicide, attempted, or contemplated it strictly because of family court or CPS. And Wilmina and we're dealing with one monster, but it has 2 heads. We've got family court, and if you watch, what was that, Divorce Corp. And then I'm CPS dependency. Dependency is child and family against the state, and family is parent versus parent. I've come to know family bond obstruction, baby brainwashing, sibling bond obstruction, the right to lie. Finally, it's kind of going by the wayside, but I met Bob Powell, it's been several years ago. He introduced me to the book, Culture of Fear, an Inside Look at LA County's child and family welfare situation. And here I am on the pages. Same old, same old. And we had Bob on a Freedom Forum platform, and he was gracious enough to come and speak. And what I understand, Bob, is it's gotten more than 50,000 hits right now. And Karen Johnson
I'm
was
pretty amazed.
Yeah, and Karen Johnson was also there, and I got Karen Johnson on my case too late. Well, actually, as soon as her office started calling our Santa Cruz CPS, they pushed the sale of my granddaughter ahead, thinking that would stop me. And I will never stop until I get my granddaughter back, and I will, because it was based, the sale of her was based on fraud and collusion and corruption.
Yeah. So you're ready to continue to fight.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
right there with her.
So we're all ready
Yeah,
to
that's
continue to
right.
fight, and I'm ready to help you all. And what I would like to get is testimonies, you all's testimonies, on a separate thing where we can have it and we could present it. We could put it on the Facebook page. Stop CPS Monterey County, and then as Amber has linked it, where it's going to be all 58 counties. I was letting her know I want us to have all the counties, 58 counties, and
Yes.
to link in, and they'll be able to put their information up. So, Wilhelmina, Wilhelmina, I'm glad to have you here. Robert, I just wanted to get a chance back to you maybe talking on some of the stuff that you heard them talk about. You might can help some of us with information as an attorney, so that's dealt with this for 26 years. So that we can know how to better serve our community and help families, and how to prepare them to get to attorneys like you to help them with their case.
I have a question for him.
Okay, and Catherine has a question for you.
Hi, Mr. Powell.
Hi.
When you spoke of the absolute recording, that you recommended that that's one thing that we get changed, is that through legislation? How do we do that?
Well, I mean, that's the only way you're going to get it changed on an above board level. But I also tell people that if it was me, because I can't really recommend people violate the law, but if it was me personally, and I was ever faced in those circumstances, I have no criminal record. It's a misdemeanor to record people against their will. So what would I do? Pick up trash on the weekend? I'm going to probably take that chance when my children are at stake, and knowing what I know. So, yeah, legislation is the answer to your question.
Thank you.
And so if you want to share did anyone else have a question that they wanted to?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead, you didn't say.
Does he still have the same license plate? Do you still have the same license plate?
Yeah, I'm on my third reiteration of I sue CPS of some kind or
Oh,
another.
wow. We need
Great.
a
I like
picture of that.
Here, let me share with you a couple of them. I still have them from other cards.
Yeah, we need to put them on our website.
I have a question for Bob. I wanted his opinion on my tact as far as going for top-down, going and getting investigations from the highest.
Wait, 1 second. Can you see him?
He's showing us license.
Oh, he is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need those on our website.
Oh,
Love
okay.
to sue CPS.
Awesome.
Okay, what
So-
was the question? I'm sorry.
Bob, I wanted to know what your opinion is of my tact of going for a criminal investigation into everything CPS and Department of Health and Human Services in general, and associated, like CASA and foster parent program and like that.
Is this you, Fox?
Yeah, it is, Bob.
Okay, I think I've told you before. I mean, people are allowed to disagree. I think you're wasting a tremendous amount of time and energy. If you think you're going to get government to police itself on any level or even between disparate levels, me personally, that's my level of pessimism, and I submit my level of real experience. It's not going to get you anywhere. Nowhere.
Okay, it's an exercise in futility, but also exposes how high up the corruption goes, but thank you.
So I have I'm gonna let him, he keeps asking me to let him have his question. This is Zay, so he
Hi,
has a
Zay.
question for the attorney, so.
I have a question. Can they still hold you when you ask them to go back to class?
Social, who are you talking about?
The social work.
Can- What was this question about?
Speak up.
Are you the young man who was questioned at school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Speak up.
Can they still hold you when you ask them to go back to class?
No, they cannot. But a lot of times what they can and cannot do has nothing to do with the practical realities of what you face at the time. And that's why I get scared when people start talking with such bravado when they probably 99% of the time don't even have the knowledge of how best to deal with the situation, dealing with a government actor who's high on power, who's drunk on power. In your case, young man, of what I know of it, this is a case where they were investigating a sibling of his, but there was not a single allegation of anything at all to do with him. Nothing. But what did they do? They went down to the school, pulled him out of class, which already makes you stick out. Oh, why'd he go? All the kids in class, why did he go? And then, of course, as soon as he gets back, what were you doing? Why were you called? And they proceed to question him without even attempting to speak to any adult, certainly not a parent or even his grandmother. They don't even try. And that is an area that we're fighting in right now. We've had some really good decisions recently, and one of the cases on that, one of my cases with a colleague, is up in front of the Ninth Circuit. It'll probably be decided, I don't know, early next year, I'm guessing. But anyway, young man, your rights were violated. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to tell them I ain't even coming with you.
That's right.
One of the best things you could do, anybody who watches this, if your kids are old enough to talk and think, and they have some, what's a word I can use? If they have some moxie, then you need to teach them this line. If anybody comes to talk to them at school that they don't know or anywhere else, their answer is, I'm sorry, I cannot speak to you unless my parent is present. And you got to beat that into their heads. And I once beat that into a client's heads, and I ran into him 2 years later. He told me a cute story. His son was in class, and a DARE officer came to school in his full regalia. And he proceeded to, talk to him about drugs and such. And he turned to my client's son and said, hey, you haven't asked anything. Do you have any questions? And the little boy, I think he was about 11, he said, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot speak to you unless my parents are present.
Good. That was a good one. Robert, during the same time, either the same exact day or so, there was another woman that I had been helping in from October until about March of this year. And her 10-year-old child was pulled out of school to ask, the principal pulled her out and asked her, do you know if Miriam's grandson has gone to Texas or is still in Texas? So it's really strange because, to come think about it, she's not even a family member. She was just someone I was helping, and it just looked like a lot of collusion going on right in the school among them. The principal got power, they can call and do stuff. And this little girl was asked questions about me, and we recorded her talking when she came home, and of course she's moved out of town, her and her family. But I will reach them, because to think about it, why did she ask questions about me, and why did she ask questions about my grandchild? And they already knew when they went to his school to talk to him that his brother wasn't here. So
you know why? It's the root problem of all of this, and that's power. These people lose common sense, goes out the window. The ability to empathize with someone on the other side in the other shoe, gone. I don't remember you sharing that part, but that is even almost more outrageous than speaking to the sibling. I mean, are you serious?
I forgot about it because the mother's gone. But I'll get in touch with her.
Oh, unbelievable.
I'll talk to you about that later. I'll get in touch with that mother. Catherine has a question.
Mr. Powell, I have another, because I fought hard as my own attorney. I didn't get to finish my story. But what is the law when it comes to statute of limitations when there's fraud involved? In other words, like in most of our cases, the social workers lied to do what they did. So I'm hearing it's 2 years from the date that the child's removed. I just
Well-
don't see how that's right when it was fraud.
Okay, but, so, it is a 2-year statute of limitations, and I don't think anybody can dispute that there has to be statutes of limitations as a general concept so that people aren't showing up 7 years later and going,
Right.
hey, you did me wrong, and the person's going, I don't even remember who the heck you are. So there are statutes of limitations, we have to have them. Fraud doesn't change that. However, all statutes of limitations start from, well, almost all, again, whenever you speak in absolutes in the law, you've probably misspoken. Almost all statutes of limitations have a requirement that they start running when you knew or should have known, and for minors, they don't even start running until they turn 18 under federal law. So if you were defrauded, I just talked to a colleague today, one of those colleagues who, like Jessica, had been 20 years in the personal injury business, got it right, and then suddenly ended up in a case with me, and now he's going 100%. These guys, excuse me. The fraud, if you don't know about it, your statute hasn't started to run. He found fraud today because he's in the federal case now. So he got discovered and he found fraud. So he may go back and actually file a 388 to change what happened in the juvenile court. But that fraud, if he just found it out today and that was the only thing in his case, he could file that case 2 years from today because he just found out today. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Azaria said he had another question. Did anybody else have another question?
I
We
think
have
we're out of time.
2 minutes. Go ahead.
My question is,
Speak up, honey. Speak up.
sorry. My question is, sorry. Sorry, I forgot my question.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, she has a question.
Bob, you know that Fox and I have been trying to get a jury option for parents in dependency court before
Yeah.
temporary rights to their children can be taken, and in family court before legal rights to children can be taken, or what they call legal custody. What's your opinion on how that would even stop accusations from even being made?
I think if you had a jury, if you had a jury in both of those scenarios, and I practice in family law as well, it would change a lot. It would change a lot. First of all, at least 6 to 12 people would learn more about this system and then, go out and share it with their friends.
Right.
But
Plus it'd have to
the
be
kind of,
evidence.
the kind of absolutely inane arguments that I listen to in these juvenile courtrooms and then have a judge up there going, yeah, that sounds good to me, would blow your mind. So having 6 normal people from the society there would change the dynamic immensely. I think it kind of almost put them out of business, really.
Good. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up and being on the show. I certainly appreciate that. I appreciate Fox coming in from Santa Cruz and Amber coming in from Salinas and Kathy coming in from Salinas and Wilhelmine coming in from Santa Cruz, right? And we have Jessica Nyfield coming all the way from Santa Cruz herself. And
All three of us, we probably passed.
and we're coming from Seaside, so we don't even live in Monterey. Isn't that something? We all showed up. And I really appreciate you all for showing up because we want to get the word out. And basically, I try to have a household conversation. I really certainly do thank Bob Powell for Skyping in with us, and we hope to have more of this. And I got a call today from your friend, Ronnie Cox, and so next time we'll have him, and we're just going to beef this up, and we're going to become, a household conversation about stop CPS. everywhere, all across the country. But we're going to start here in our hometown and just spread, and we're going to be a household conversation. We want people talking about this because we want people to understand their rights. There's so much more we could have shared with you, and it's just not enough time to do that.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, and you're never going to solve it on a 2-hour or 1.5-hour show. But you ladies, Miriam, your activism, God bless you. Fox has been doing it for, I know myself, at least 10 years or so. God bless her. God bless anyone. Jessica, for stepping into this. We're here. You need anything answered, call us. We can talk that crazy language of law.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. And we're signing
Thank you
off,
all.
all.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody can just wave bye-bye.